You've been driving for a while and you feel like you've hit a plateau and you're just not improving anymore. You've upgraded your hardware, but you're still not able to be as fast as you would like. Well, guess what? I did that too, okay? I'm as guilty as you are. And that's exactly why Racine and myself created what we call the advanced way to learn. By using the techniques that we're about to show you, we were able to win national championships, and we're now coaching real-life drivers and sim racers all across the globe. So let me tell you why you absolutely need this to improve your racing skills. On this platform, you'll go through 5 learning steps. The first one is going to be to watch video lessons so you can take in all that theory. The second step will be to answer quizzes. We've created some questions to test your knowledge. Next, you'll have to partake in challenges. Here, you'll have to prove to yourself that you can apply what you've learned. You'll go on track and you'll try to beat the instructor's lap times or sector times. Following the challenge, you'll be able to send your onboard replay so instructors and other community members can help you improve. And lastly, you can get involved in the community to meet some new teammates and learn from others. This platform is a back and forth discussion between us, the instructor, and you, the students. If you're serious about becoming the best driver out there, this is the advanced way to learn.
With the ButtKicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. ButtKicker, the future is feeling.
Final week here at the PRL, starting with the Fixed Cup Series here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. We've done the NASCAR tracks following the real life series around, and it's time for just one extra one here at the end of November. We've come to one of the newest configurations, if you like, in the NASCAR Cup Series circuit. This track, of course, going through major changes 2 years ago to increase the banking by about 4 degrees in the turns and make it effectively a 1.5 mile plate track. Well, welcome along to RaceSpotTV in the final round of the PRL Cup Series here this season. It's myself, Ian Leary, and Lorenzo Bonda along with you, with 3 drivers separated by just 6 points coming into today. There is a chance, Lorenzo, that any 3 of those can take the title here at the final race at Atlanta here tonight.
Yeah, pretty much a race between O'Brien, Acosta, and Perry after everything that transpired in in Phoenix. I'm looking forward to see how this plate racing will decide this championship. Should be a really good one with so many points in tow.
Yeah, Rob Bissell Jr. is leading the charge for 4th by only 4 points ahead of Stephen Kirby. Pat Harvey's only 5 behind. There's a bit of a gap to Jean-Michel Gagnon, who is back tonight, ahead of Jose Medina, Mathieu Denis, and unfortunately Lou Christian, who's making his last appearance in the PRL Cup Series for the foreseeable tonight, as the time slot is changing next season. He says he won't be able to make it anymore, so unfortunately this could be his last race in the Cup Series. This is the team standings as well. 105 points to the gap for private label team Hype, who are the champions. DDI Motorsports should finish ahead of Solpec as well. Waterback Racing and Neki Racing Team 4th and 5th. They should stay the same during tonight's race. Before we go any further, let's thank the sponsors once again for the final time this season who make these broadcasts possible, starting with Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designed to build the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, our button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com and get a 5% discount using the Precision 5 coupon code. ButtKicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit moradness.com. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. And finally, Advanced Motorsports. Get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. Just a couple of seconds left in qualifying, and now we have it complete. Stephen Kirby has taken pole position by 0.000 seconds. It's a very, very close qualifying session indeed, but perhaps most importantly, it means that Abner Acosta will not be getting any points, neither will James O'Brien from the pole position. Acosta will start on the front row though with Stephen Kirby, with Jean-Michel Gagnon and Mathieu Denis on row 2. It's James O'Brien and Jose Medina who are on row 3. Robbie Wilson will be alongside Alex Hillman as the final of those who set a time there. Pat Harvey and Mark Kalin alongside Thomas Sink, and Rob Bissell Jr. did not set times down towards the back. And one of the unfortunately noticeable things as well there, Lorenzo, is that Gabriel Perry is not here. As far as I'm aware, he didn't tell us last week he wasn't going to be, so I hope all is well, of course, but it's a real shame that he is not here tonight, and we may just be left with the two of them. James O'Brien versus Abner Acosta, maybe.
Yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate as we see the track conditions and all the not the hottest track, about 79 Fahrenheit, which is a little bit surprising to see a cold track condition of sort. But Perry not being present, it's way more surprising than this. You know, the ranked competition for the championship in a plate racing like this, you know, where he could have stood a chance against Abner Acosta and O'Brien, but everything is still undecided. I'm very surprised, man.
Certainly. What it means is that it's between James O'Brien and Abner Acosta for the championship. If either of them win the race, they are pretty much guaranteed the title. It would be very unlucky for either of them to win and not win the title, put it that way. James O'Brien certainly would seal it with his first win in the season. Abner Acosta, in all likelihood, would, although it wouldn't be certain. That's got to be an appetising prospect going into this race as well. They both know exactly what they need to do to win this title, although it is a very hard challenge, of course, to try and win round here.
Absolutely. I think because of this new iteration, right, that we had the revamp since 2021, that kind of like has brought this into modern standards, because I think the new cars weren't well fit enough for the old configuration of the track. What made pack racing a little bit more inviable, I think now makes interesting sense to have this new generation of cars tackle around a plate now. Well, what is a plate racing of sorts? So the undecisiveness is going to make this race a very interesting factor for us to commentate on for the over hour that we have enough left in racing.
Just 1 hour left this season. Of course, 9 timed 1 hour races, of course. We've been racing here since 1960 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's its third major change in that time period. That's the third major change in the last 30 years as well to this oval. Just over a mile and a half, but it's plate racing for the final time this season. The second plate race and the final overall race. The PRL Cup Series finale gets underway from Atlanta. Abner Acosta on the start goes nowhere, and James O'Brien immediately gets ahead of him. Now the two championship rivals are helping each other on the outside.
Yeah, but let's see how that outside lane is going to work. We know that now became plate racing, and there's a lot of drafts that's going to be traded, so we know they're not going to be able to break away. The thing is, they're going to be like switching back and forth in terms of position, so life points is going to be a little bit crazy for us to calculate on. But so far, Kirby's retaining that gap moving forward because the top lane is not working all that well.
If James O'Brien finishes ahead of Abner Acosta tonight, he will be the champion. Make no mistake about that. That is clear. And watch the purple band on the left-hand side as well for the fastest lap. That is worth a point. It's currently being taken by Mark Kalin. And the more that Stephen Kirby leads as well, and these two don't pick up any laps led, that maybe takes the point for most laps led taken away as well. So these bonus points being swept up rather nicely at the moment, actually, by those who are not involved in the championship fight.
Yeah, and you can see both of them being just retained to the top lane, what everybody else I think just relegated to that bottom lane. That's not. Kalen's going to merge to the outside. Finally, someone moving up. I think now is going to join Alex Hillman and the guys from the private label Team Hype, and Matthew Denis just following his teammate on the top lane. Starting to move on a little bit.
Yeah, so 5 up top now. It's just less than half the field, of course. Our 12 driver field here. Rob Bissell Jr. able to go quickly at the back now as well. He gets the fastest lap, but not great signs for the outside line, I've got to say, early on here. I'm not sure whether it's because Kirby, Gagnon, Wilson and Harvey are really organised down the bottom, which is why they're struggling, or whether the top side is just not where you want to be, but it's not been very encouraging for those up high so far.
Yeah, so for me, it's a little bit interesting why that outside lane is not moving up. If there's anything of like collaboration or just the fact that it's a cold track, so it's kind of like favoring the bottom lane, or the guys are not pushing each other out on that top side. Wonder if there's lack of communication, but that bottom is where things want to happen right now. As we looking now into the life-saving situation, as O'Brien 5-point gap to his teammate Abner Acosta.
And look at that for Stephen Kirby. He at the moment would get up to 3rd in the standings. What a result that would be. What a return that would be for the season he's had there for him. Remarkable, really. The battle for 3rd place in this championship is going to be something we keep an eye on as well. If Kirby, Bissell, Harvey or Gagnon win the race, you'd say that they've got a pretty good chance of finishing 3rd in the standings, as Kirby is right now. It does get a bit more complicated than that, as the championship rivals are now split apart. Abner Acosta moves to the outside line and he follows a nice run here. Mark Kalin leading the line on the outside and actually getting somewhere now.
And finally moving forward with that top lane. And more importantly, we need to take a look into Rob Bissell Jr., right? He has currently the fast lap, not the guy in the front of the pack. He's all the way at the back, last position for him. But that's important for Rob, because every point that he can get is one more point that is going to be ahead of Gabriel Perry, since the point gap between them right now is about 2 points.
And there goes Mark Kalin. Not sure if he quite got the point at the line there, but he was very close to Stephen Kirby for the first time. Down the back straight, he's getting pushed here by Thomas Sink, who's just getting a little bit loose. Now gives a huge shove down the back stretch. Mark Kalin looks like he's going to get to the lead here, as he just gets his nose ahead, but through the turns, of course, the longer way round is not really going anywhere. And now the momentum's going to be broken up, because one of the outside line drivers just got out of line there. Abner Acosta moved up ahead of them. I think it was Alex Hillman. and the momentum will just go out of these guys now. Stephen Kirby will get back to the lead.
In that force, O'Brien moved to the bottom lane just temporarily to give space between everybody. So that was a good awareness from the private label team hype driver over there. Don't waste your championship already early on, but look at the point gap in the meanwhile, as now Acosta with just 1 point difference.
What was going on there for Pat Harvey? Now the inside is not going to have any momentum here. Round the outside, they will go, and Abner Acosta is really getting some places ahead of James O'Brien. It's going to get very complicated, and the standings on the right-hand side are going to change very quickly. Harvey clearly not fazed by that moment. He's grinning on the way down towards 3 and 4 at the moment.
Yeah, I think everybody's just enjoying, flying around. Not too many cars around on the track. Is just trying to concentrate on the guy ahead of you and behind you, so you don't get like in a domino effect of sorts. So I think Pat just might have made a miscalculation error, and he was just having a giggle about himself.
Now Acosta's sort of been left out to dry there on the outside line, although he does have his championship rival right in behind him. Kalin, Sink, Denis have all gotten up ahead of Stephen Kirby. So after leading the first 10 laps or so, the 1 and 9 has been replaced by the 62, and it's Mark Kalin who is at the front of this field.
And more importantly, now Medina, they were like tied on points, but because of Medina's better results throughout the season, more consistent season, was a little bit of an improvement. It was ahead of Kalin, but I think once Kalin gets the fastest lap, he's going to tie that thing in. But good battles throughout the whole track, of sorts, as the life points are still going to go through basically for the majority of the race.
As I was talking about earlier on, just to reiterate, Abner Acosta would win a tiebreaker between himself and James O'Brien, because somewhat remarkably, despite being the championship leader, James O'Brien hasn't won a race this season, which feels pretty remarkable. And I don't know when the last time someone won a title in the PRL without winning a race, but it can't happen very often. James O'Brien is on the cusp of doing that here tonight, if he indeed wins the title and doesn't win the race.
Yeah, that would be remarkable, just showing that sometimes there is no need for you to win, just have to be highly consistent and get podium results. Basically, I think what O'Brien's worst results racing was something, I think, 6th place or something like that outside of top 5, because every other result he had was either podium or top 5s.
Through into 3 and 4 again. Kalin challenged by Sink, and now challenged by Kirby as well, who's just got up to the outside line. The problem for Acosta and O'Brien and anyone back here is that anytime they get a run, they're so far back that someone always slides up in front of them. So it could be a problem for them getting into the lead, but there's still 52 minutes to go. They won't be worried about leading the field around right now. I mean, there's no point getting involved in a crash trying to take that point for leading a lap, or indeed leading the most laps. You're much better off trying to focus your efforts on winning the race at the end.
And not only that, I think, in my opinion, what makes this also more complicated, because this has now been repaved since 2021 and kind of became now plate racing of sorts. You have a lot of pushing around, like you'd have the Daytona, you would have the Talladega, right? Where normally plate racing is at. In here, you're not gonna have a lot of room to push the cars around. You don't have a lot of back straight, in the tri-oval-esque shape of the front stretch within Atlanta is not the safest for you to push a car around. It's easy for you to skid around as Kirby goes back into the lead, right? So that usually can breed a lot of cautions, like especially on a big group. Of course, we're not that big. 12 cars is a big group if you consider how things are, and they're all side by side, right? But it's not a large group if you had like more cars shifted around the track.
I think it's going to be very interesting. I mean, we saw at Talladega earlier on this season a completely green race. There were no cautions at that plate track. Unai Yamas was able to take the victory. It turns out it will be his only victory of the season. He's not been present for the last 3 weeks, unfortunately, so he's dropped outside the top 10 in the standings. But it was a great race by him, and we're seeing that this has got a very similar feel to it early on. Plenty of action, of course, and lead changes as well, but no cautions, and to be honest, no even close moments either. Everybody's very wary of their own mortality around this circuit, for sure. Oh.
Yeah, because it is easy for you to, you know, get yourself caught off guard on this circuit. Like now, because it became plate racing to try to follow with the modern standards of NASCAR, for better or worse, right? I think you even said it. Like you prefer the old iteration of Atlanta, like the previous iteration of Atlanta Motor Speedway. So do I. I like the previous one where you had like such really good finishes. I think one of the most legendary ones when Jeff Water won at the line. Was basically made this track a top tier legend status, even though back in the few years we saw that it was like being relegated. I have no problems with like being play race. It's just difficult to push cars around in a track like this.
Here goes Abner Acosta for the lead. Does he get this bonus point to reduce the margin here to James O'Brien, the man we're riding on board with? He can't do anything. Abner Acosta's going to get this. He gets his first bonus point of the evening. Lap number 21 will go to him. Abner Acosta now just 4 points behind James O'Brien. And as things stand, would win the title with a race win here tonight. He may not even need to win the race, but let's see about that. He's got his point. Now then, can he push on here and maybe lead the most laps? This will be difficult, of course, but he's holding on here. It's not a one-lap lead. It is going to be multiple laps, and James O'Brien might feel the need to go up there and get the lead off him.
Yeah, you can see he's trying, but the fact that it's Kirby and Hillman are working together, and there's a little bit of a dangerous situation of Hillman, you know, trying to find himself around the track. There's not too much collaboration. Just makes O'Brien's life a little bit more complicated, as the bottom lane seems a little bit content for the time being to just let this one go and let Acosta lead a few laps.
Just 4 on the outside. This is tricky at the moment. The advantage of pushing Kirby, by the way, for James O'Brien is that Kirby's already banked nearly 15 laps in the lead. So if he wants to take the most laps off of Acosta, it might actually be easier for him to employ Kirby to do it rather than doing it himself here, James O'Brien. We'll see what he decides to do as he just lays off the back of Alex Hillman at the moment. This outside line not really getting anywhere, but now look at the moves. Mark Kalin moves to the outside with the help of his friends behind. Thomas Sink and Mathieu Denis all go up with him, and Abner Acosta is only able to lead 2 laps here at Atlanta.
He needs more though.
3 wide in the background. James O'Brien up on the high side with Hillman in the middle, I think that is, and Jose Medina on the very low side. This is a scary moment now for one of our championship contenders at the back end of the train. Look at it, all getting a little bit restless now. O'Brien powers through on the outside line, and he does move on up.
But also I think that depending circumstance might actually open up the route for O'Brien to maybe do a fast lap once he opens up this lap on. So let's take a look on how and see if that's actually going to be the case. Meanwhile, B-Saw Jr. moving up into the standings, going into 4th place, while Kirby now dipping.
Yeah, worth looking at fastest lap, but their tyres are going off now, so I know at normal plate circuits it's not really a factor, but it certainly is around this one, as we see another lap led for Mark Kalin there. James O'Brien's not going to be able to get the fastest lap no matter what kind of run he's got this time round. He's going to have to wait for everyone making their pit stop and coming back out again. That is his best chance for sure as they make their way out of turn 2 again. Kalin and Acosta are absolutely neck and neck now for this lead.
And Thomas Singh, I think, for also trying to follow through, trying to push the car around. Oh.
Nearly took it 3 wide there, Thomas Singh. I'd be very surprised if he was making it 3 wide with Kalin, but there goes Acosta again over the line. Another lap led.
Hey, it's all good. Meanwhile, I think another driver that we're seeing this season so far having a really good result and finally being featured within the top 3 for, well, professionally is Gagnon, right? We saw him have a lot of really good performances, as now he's going to have that bottom lane, and finally he's going to have the chance to lead a few laps.
So Acosta thinking that going up with the teammates up top there might just help him here, and it does at least get him over the line in front again this time around, but I just wonder how long Kalin's going to sit there and stay in line behind Acosta, and how much time he's going to wait until he makes his own line again as he did earlier.
It all depends on collaboration, right? You see he's going to push him around, push Acosta around a little bit, try to save a little bit of fuel. I think because this is a shorter track, it's not like Daytona or Talladega where you have like a a 2.66 or a 2.5 mile, you can stay a little bit longer on less flat-footed on the gas, and you are able to maybe save chunks of laps of fuel, especially when you come into the entry turn number 1 and 3 respectively, right? So let's see how this one will go, because that's might be one of the reasons why O'Brien is not attacking all that much. He's trying to save as much fuel as he can to try to overstretch this one in case we get a yellow flag or something like that over time.
Yeah, let's see what we're going to get in relation to fuel. Could be tricky to work out, but I think stopping around halfway will first of all be necessary. I think they'll need to stop about halfway in this one if it goes green all the way, and second of all just splits it nicely in half for another one-stop race, which is what we've seen all throughout this season. Really, very rarely we've seen people in more than once as they make their way off the lap. Abner Acosta's led 6 laps. He is not quite going to get that one. That will go to Jean-Michel Gagnon, who leads for the first time tonight. Yeah,
but I wonder. I don't think O'Brien is out that phase. I think he's just thinking about the end result, and he knows the point shift between like fastest lap and the most laps led. It might not be a true factor of sorts.
Yeah.
Given the circumstances, he's just kind of like biding his time, trying to keep the car on the track as best the way he can, right? And Sierra is gonna lead him towards the end, and so far, just doing the cerebral game of sorts, and trying to go for this long run.
Yeah, O'Brien knows that if he finishes ahead of Acosta tonight, he will be the champion, as Acosta really makes some strides on the back straight here. He didn't lead that last time around, but he might well do this time. Let's see, out of 4, he does. 7th lap led. Stephen Kirby is on about 15. I wasn't counting for him, unfortunately, so I think he's on about 15. But as you say, this bonus point might not matter at all towards the end. It's very interesting that James O'Brien and Abner Acosta have taken such different approaches to this opening part of the race.
Yeah, for me, it's interesting the fact that Acosta is, just being the aggressive guy out in the gate and wasting more fuel. I'm not going to say waste more rubber because, again, plate racing has changed the dynamic shift way too much.
Kalin got so close to the rear quarter there of Abner Acosta. Very nearly got turned around. Look at Pat Harvey here on board as he gets in behind Gagnon, who now will get to the lead again by looks of things, and the outside line is going backwards here.
Yeah, but I think it was just a slight miscommunication between all these guys. So we're gonna see Acosta and Kalin moving up front just a little bit. I think they're being patient, just try not to overdrive each other way too much and then get one in the wall and the races potentially early on. We're barely 20 minutes in.
Look at the top 3 getting organised. Rod Bisor Jr. right back where he needs to be. If he wins, then he will finish 3rd this season. Jean-Michel Gagnon at the moment is getting a top 5 with a provisional race win, but of course there is still a very long way to go. Here comes Abner Acosta again. He's back alongside Alex Hillman. The outside line rebuilding themselves really here and doing an okay job of it, but it's going to take them a couple of laps to be fighting it out for the win again, and someone from the top 3 might slide up in front of them as well, don't forget.
Yeah, I think right now that would be a really good opportunity maybe for Harvey to try to go to the outside, shot his way through, because the second peloton is not working as they probably want it to be. You can see there's now, I think, the biggest separation in the race. I think that's about like 0.3 of a second. Even though 0.3 of a second over here sounds like, from the way I'm speaking, about a full lap right in the play racetrack, which is absurd for me to talk about.
It is a lot bigger of a margin than you might expect, although Acosta now is very much in the slipstream of Rod Bisor Jr. He has gotten clear, and well, is he looking for a move? He's not going to be able to make one, surely, with absolutely no help behind. But here comes Mark Kalin. Hillman's right in his draft as well. Will he go with him, maybe? as Gagnon has just been drifting a little bit wide through turn 2 in these last couple of laps. He needs to stay down low and hold on to the lead here. He's leading a couple of laps as the front 5 now are absolutely together on the low side here. Just about 20 minutes gone in the PRL Cup Series finale.
Yeah, and now finally they're all bunched in together once again, even though the top lane is now moving with such strength as they probably wanted to in a little bit, as O'Brien's going to get checked up.
Through the left-hander they go, and Gagnon will lead by some distance. The top 9 all single file as Robbie Wilson gets it wrong, or indeed he makes a ploy to go up high, but he drops back in, and with that pass, James O'Brien, I believe, gets onto level points with Abner Acosta. He needs one more place if he wants to retake the championship lead. That's how close it is here today. That's what we're talking about here. Really, really fine margins.
Yeah, and I think this is also the first time everybody is single file, right? Like you just said.
Yep. Certainly is. I mean, are we going to see this now until the pit stops? Another 9 minutes to go until we get there, but here, nobody really willing to make a move. James O'Brien having a peek to the outside, but who's going to make that first risk? It is going to be O'Brien, who has the unwitting help of Robbie Wilson in the 3 car on the outside line there. And then coming through on the outside should have been Mark Kalin. He decides to abandon them up there.
Yeah, but also more interesting in my point of view is how far O'Brien is actually towards that lane, right? He's trying to give a lot of side draft, which for him is helping a little bit, and then having Robbie kind of like pushing his back a little, and also following the kind of like the same idea is just allowing this top lane, which doesn't seem mighty, being very mighty towards that guys on the bottom lane.
They are making some progress here. Maybe this is James O'Brien finally stopping the saving that he was doing earlier on, but now getting on with it. And good to see as well that I know the outside line wasn't looking too smart earlier on, but actually, even if you just have one helper up there, you can actually make something work on the outside. I mean, it's just O'Brien and Wilson at the moment who are up there, and they're getting somewhere, even just as a pair.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing we kind of have touched on sometimes, and we saw even with O'Brien before he started moving up to the top lane when Robbie made a mistake, was they're kind of like checking up each other. So it's like they're trying to keep the spatial awareness up intact in this track. That's why they're not moving up. You can even see now the 33 is going to reach Hillman on that bottom lane, who's the next car is Acosta. So I wonder if the teammate is going to start working together if 33 passes on the 11.
That would be okay for O'Brien, as long as Abner Acosta doesn't win the race. If he finishes bumper to bumper with the 5, then it should be okay. Jean-Michel Gagnon, by the way, is getting on for leading enough laps here to have led the most on the day, but that might be about to change here as Abner Acosta moves to the outside line. He does now go and join Alex Hillman, James O'Brien and Robbie Wilson, all of whom are up there. They're all migrating up high now, and O'Brien abandons Hillman. O'Brien gets to the back of the 5 now.
I think they saw that Hillman wasn't working well together when they were actually moving up in the lane. You can even see 3 wide at the back between O'Brien, Kalin, and Hillman right there. It's just dangerous situation.
Oh! In the wall. Thomas Sink was that in the wall. Abner Acosta still up high here. And high and dry, unfortunately. Hillman gets ahead of him. These guys are in danger almost of losing the front group here. The top 5 are much more organised, and are they getting away from the others?
Yeah, the gap between Kirby and Kalin is over a second, so...
wow.
It's insane how bad a line can break just in a matter of few laps.
That is absolutely huge. James O'Brien and Abner Acosta stuck in the second group on the road, and the front 5 of Jean-Michel Gagnon, Pat Harvey, Robert Bissau Jr. and Jose Medina and Stephen Kirby have all raced away from the pack by working together a little bit and capitalising on a big error from those behind. They understand the seriousness back here, especially O'Brien and Acosta, and they get to work immediately trying to drive this gap back down again, but it's going the wrong way.
Yeah, I think what they need to do is just like be mindful of each other. They know they have the bigger group in comparison to the front group. There's like 7 cars to 5 cars, so in normal circumstances 7 beats 5 in a draft train, so they just cannot allow to get bunched up or get into a domino effect of sorts. O'Brien needs to lead, and needs to lead well.
Here we go through the turns again. O'Brien is stabilising this, and they are more organised. It is a bigger group as well. You'd expect these 7 to be able to get somewhere as long as they stay in line, because they're up against a group of 5, but that's just not happening at the moment. 1.6 seconds now the gap. Maybe it is starting to turn the right way for these guys.
Yeah, it's all coordination, you know. I think that's one of the key aspects of oval racing, right? Especially in play racing. I think I learned that by running so many Daytona 500s. That let's just say you have about a group of 4 cars ahead of you, and you are in a pack of 8 or something like that. You just have to understand that with patience and collaboration, and everybody pushing each other around, like for example Hillman pushing O'Brien and Acosta pushing Hillman whenever they have some patch of straightaways, it can work out in a lot of favor for them. Is just being patient. That's the key of the game, being patient. You're gonna waste fuel regardless. It's just how well you're gonna coordinate with everybody else in the group that makes a win-win situation for all.
Here the gap comes down to 1.5 with just over 33 minutes to go. The first break in the group in this PRL Cup Series finale here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Jean-Michel Gagnon is continuing to lead, and lead well as well. He's led the most laps so far today, comfortably clear of what Abner Acosta has tallied up, and James O'Brien still hasn't got a single point for leading a lap just yet. But this charge to get back to the front is far more important. It was going the right way. Now it comes back the wrong way again. 1.7 on the way down towards turn 3 there.
Yeah, and another thing that I just reminded you in that is very important, because this is a colder track for our for its nature, right? What is important for me to bring up is the fact of the temperature of the engine, right? That's why you can see Hillman kind of like going to the right side, kind of like going to the top lane. He's not looking to go into the top lane to try to overtake unless it's absolutely necessary. He's actually just going to the top lane to allow his car to cool down its engine, because he's pushing so much dirty air into his engine base. Same things like for Acosta, he's just going to the inside so the car doesn't overheat and eventually blows up the engine.
Got to be very careful of that. Don't forget, during these pit stop phases as well that are coming up, that we will be seeing a lot of danger of falling out of the draft as well, and that's got to be a bit of a concern to everybody here. In real life, you enter now on the entry of turn 3 here at Atlanta, and you obviously go around the bottom there, below the white line, the red line I suppose it is on this circuit, isn't it?
Yep.
Don't know if it works the same in iRacing though, whether you have to come in off of 4.
For pit stop?
To pit in, yeah, for here.
You can kind of do that of sorts. You can just, if you have cars up in the front, there's a little bit of coordination. Just say that I'm going to pit in. You can kind of do that. But I think because of this has become a super speedway play racing of sorts, I think some guys are kind of like overcommitting themselves into the back lane and coming into number 3, not between 3 and 4, as now everybody's bunched up once again.
Just in time for the pit stops, they've made it back again. James O'Brien pushed all the way by Alex Hillman, predominantly, then Abner Acosta, then Mark Kalin, and then the rest as well. Does O'Brien use this immediately to go round and go up high? Is he going to continue his push on here? He certainly is. That would be the smart thing to do. And he sets the fastest lap as well. What a crucial point that could be for James O'Brien here. I said the tyres were going off earlier on. He's been saving a bit of his, and the speed he's just used there was monstrous. He moves up in front there, just Jose Medina, but James O'Brien wants to go higher. Through 3 and 4, James O'Brien on a charge. Up 3 wide here off of 4.
The only reason why Medina tried to take advantage of that is just because he knew O'Brien was coming faster, but he kind of emerged into that top lane a little bit late, so he knows that lane merge is not going to help anything his case, and that's why the 33 just decided to move into that top lane, make it a 3 wide, and avoid a potential crash. Even though for O'Brien, this didn't work out as probably as he expected. Just 3 cars and nobody else in the bottom lane working together very strongly. Even though Hillman is doing a really good job as a pusher and chaser for that top lane.
We are around halfway now. 60 laps now on the board, or will be at the end of this one, and half an hour gone as well. That was pulling down low there. Mark Kalin, Thomas Sink, Matty Denis, and Robbie Wilson. We're into the pit stop phase as well. Everybody's migrating down low as well because they want to get into pit lane, because it is the entry on towards turn number 3. But James O'Brien's been saving so much, you'd expect him to be able to continue on. Robbie Wilson missed pit lane, by the way. He will be out of the draft at the end of this. He's missed pit lane.
Yeah, and you can see now Acosta and O'Brien finally, I think for the first time in a long while, pushing each other as everybody else is going to try to settle themselves to eventually come down into the pit lane, but that's not the case. Let's see how the 33 and 5 are going to work towards moving up in the lane, as everybody else is kind of like just not helping each other on the bottom lane.
Did Kalin speed?
Yes.
Or, yeah, so Sink and Denis both make normal stops. Wilson, of course, had to go around again, and into pit lane very late. But McGagnon and Pat Harvey there, very nearly coming in with him. Gagnon will make it by the looks of things. So it's a better run for Stephen Kirby. He's got the entrance nailed a little bit better. There's no speed limit down the bottom there until now, so you cannot. You can go as fast as you want initially, but then you've got to slow down for the line itself. So Harvey, Bissor Jr., O'Brien and Acosta are left out there on the circuit. How long do they leave it now to come into pit lane? In they come immediately. Harvey, Robert Bissor Jr., James O'Brien, I should say, and Abner Acosta. Oh, Pat Harvey, he's sliding all over the place, trying to get it in pit lane here. That might be looked at. He enters from this race circuit. He's really fast into the lane as well. If he's not got a penalty for any of that, it would be remarkable.
His reaction says otherwise.
Yeah, I think he's okay based on his reaction, but I'm surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a little bit wild to take notice.
So Abner Acosta gets to the end of the line. It looks like everybody is in the train, even Robbie Wilson actually. Mark Kalin obviously not because of his penalty. So some bigger gaps than I thought. Apologies, that what I said is completely not true. Jean-Michel Gagnon and Stephen Kirby are running around, and there they are, the championship protagonists, absolutely door to door on the exit of pit lane. James O'Brien gets up to the ideal line, coming back onto the oval though, and Abner Acosta's got to be careful here. He can't lose the slipstream to James O'Brien, who is going to race away from him here. Oh, Abner Acosta could be in big trouble here. Robert Bissor Jr., Jean-Michel Gagnon, Stephen Kirby and James O'Brien are at the front of this race as a 4. Abner Acosta left side by side with his rival, but he's not with them. He's not with the leaders. Jean-Michel Gagnon will go through here, over the line, in the lead of this race. Ahead of Kirby, then Rob Bissor Jr., then James O'Brien, and look at this. This is the charge that is saving Abner Acosta's season.
I think going side by side, coming out of the pit lane and relegating the number 5 to that apron just didn't help his case. But here's the thing. I think eventually the 5 is going to be able to reach that front group. Question is, can these two work well together to try to move into the group that is actually having Kirby and Gagnon in front? Because right now 2 against 4 is not going to help their cause, but that doesn't look like it. Now it's a 4-on-4 battle.
It is indeed.
4-on-5 battle rather, actually.
4-on-5. So 4 at the front, Gagnon, Kirby, Bissor and O'Brien. Then 5 behind, Sink, Denis, Wilson, who's done a remarkable job, by the way, Robbie Wilson, Alex Hillman, and Abner Acosta, who's at the back. Jose Medina's on his own. He is off the train. He's missed the group. Further behind, it is Pat Harvey and Mark Kalin, who both got penalties. They are a lap down together as Abner Acosta gets the fastest lap. at the moment. This group is going to be going very quick, second group though, so watch out for some fastest laps coming in here in a moment.
And I think Kirby just lifted off the gas, you know, doesn't want to overcommit the car, just cool it down a little bit and allow this group to come in, and now become a 9-car train. As the top lane is going to start to form up again with the number 48 of Thomas Sink leading with the fastest lap of the race so far.
So that takes the point off Acosta. The gap back to 4 again between O'Brien and Acosta. But we've got 9 for the lead again, which is fantastic. As I say, Jose Medina, Pat Harvey and Mark Kaelin are all running around on their own as far as I can tell. They will be swept up at some point, so lap traffic will be a factor as well in these final 25 minutes.
And more importantly, no blue flags.
Well, how would you enforce a blue flag anyway, I suppose? But yes, you've got to work your way around somehow. And it's different to a normal plate track as well, because normally at Daytona or Talladega, you'd say just stay high or just stay low, and we can filter our way through. But the lines are so movable here compared to Talladega and Daytona that lap traffic could really be a problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because the guy, let's just say, if we had a bigger number of cars, right? No, that could be a really big problem. But I think just having one car going around is not going to be that much of a hassle, unless there was a battle between these guys that we were looking like, oh, who's going to be the lucky dog on a potential only one green flag run, sorry, one yellow flag run in this race, right?
Yeah, Pat Harvey at the moment would be, of course, in that position. He's a couple of seconds ahead of Mark Kaelin. They are both behind Jose Medina. They are all running alone as things stand. I think Kaelin is only about 5 laps away from being lapped, though, or something along those lines, so it could be quite close. As James O'Brien now gets pushed to the lead. Could this be a chance to get that fastest lap point and even things up between himself and Abner Acosta? He's had a great push from Stephen Kirby, and it looks like James O'Brien will indeed lead a lap here. So back to 5 points. O'Brien still leads this championship.
Yep. But the thing is, he's not going to get the fastest lap, though. I think Thomas, because he was actually reaching that group, had so much like gap to work with that he eventually got the fastest lap. I think we would need about, let's just say, a 6/10 gap between like the first group to a second group for us to get a chance of having a fast lap again.
I think you're right. But as we saw in the first stint, that is not impossible. It is not impossible at all for these two groups to find themselves split apart like we saw before, and on the catching, as like you say, as we saw earlier on, we could well see another fastest lap. That story might well not be over just yet either.
You're absolutely right. I don't think that is like all said and done. You know, you can have, like, for example, Sink again, like catch up to these guys up in the front, push the car one more time, or even like the guy right behind him, I think that's Mathieu Denis, have the opportunity to have the fastest lap of the race, because the gap they have right now, for example, to reach Hillman or to reach that, I think, Robbie Wilson on the bottom lane to be the last cars in the tow, is quite considerate. That we might be able to see the fastest lap once again. It's just a matter of trying to go out there and getting it.
And just to remind you, if you weren't with us earlier on, Stephen Kirby's 7th PRL pole position took in those 2 bonus points that is for the fast lap in qualifying, although Abner Acosta was just in behind by 0.000 of a second. It was an extremely close qualifying session. Since then, both championship leaders have led laps, but James O'Brien now is getting a bit of a run together here, and it would probably need to lead most of the remainder of the race to get that point. But if he does that, he probably won't be worried too much about that. Instead, worried about the race win, of course. It was about Abner Acosta being well ahead of James O'Brien through the most part of the first half of this race. The roles seem to be reversed early on here in the second run.
And what a bittersweet run would it be, right, for O'Brien to, let's just say, seal the championship with his maiden win in the season being the final race of the season.
I'm not sure, as I say before, how often, if at all, the Cup Series has been won by not winning a race at all, but James O'Brien is on the cusp of doing that here. Abner Acosta has already got 2 wins, including one last week. And Gabriel Perry, of course, the other driver who could have won this title today, 4 wins to his name, although Perry, as we know, is not here today, unfortunately. It's between O'Brien and Acosta. And quite frankly, that's making the maths a little bit easier, so it is helpful. There are silver linings, I suppose. But Perry, unfortunately, is not being able to take a maiden PRL Championship after a great debut season. He will have the most wins of anybody, that much is confirmed already, and has been for a couple of weeks now. He had a great debut season. It's just a shame he couldn't top it off with a title.
Absolutely. Made a really good first impression in this PRL Championship. Hoping that he comes in next season with the time slot change, right? You saw a few drivers like Luke Christian, where you said before he's not going to be able to be present, but I think having about races that happen an hour earlier might bring like guys from the West Coast or the East Coast a little bit more into the fray, because you're not getting to really late times to set yourself for a Monday week on your work by work sheet, right? So let's see how that's going to go for next season in the Cup Series.
Resident statistician of the PRL, Patrick Cowgill, is letting us know that James has won a title before without winning a race. So never mind it's being done by anybody in the PRL. James himself has done it before. So let's see if he can do it again. On board with Abner Acosta as he sees Robbie Wilson and Rob Bissell Jr. right up ahead of him. Gagnon is to our front left here. And now big push going to go to Wilson. There you go in towards turn 3. They get very close. Everyone's just moving around a little bit more. You can tell we're into the final 20 minutes of this one now.
Yeah, and you can see Acosta trying to do his best to stay closer to the side draft. This is the first time we've seen this top lane being way closer, but nearly Acosta had to tack up a little bit to avoid bumping the number 3 into the way of the number 9, and that could have been detrimental for everybody in his race out there.
The 3, by the way, who are not with this group have finally banged some heads together, and they are now working together, going at roughly the same speed as this battling group of 9. So they're going quite well now and shouldn't be lapped unless there is a real catastrophe back there. O'Brien leads another lap here. He's got over 10 now. He's passed Acosta in that regard, but Acosta is trying to push Robbie Wilson into the fray as well here to try and overtake him in those stakes. Robbie Wilson coming through on the outside line in the number 3, possibly to lead for the first time.
I wonder if there's anybody else helping in the back. Yeah, there we go. We got Hillman helping in the back, but Acosta is doing the most of the dirty job, so that's why I think Robbie's going to lead his one of the first few laps he has in the race. But is Acosta going to make 3 wide if they go to the backstretch, depending on where the track position will be for the number 5?
As things stand, James O'Brien would be champion. He needs to finish ahead of Acosta to win the title, but with a race win, Acosta would more than likely take the championship as well. So let's see if either of them can manage it. Gagnon gets right to the rear left of Acosta. You can tell everybody's getting down on their tyres a little bit now, and we're getting late in the race as well. Everyone being a little bit more aggressive, moving up a little bit more as well. Here goes Wilson on the outside line.
Well, what is interesting for me is kind of like where they're trying to position the cars to get it within some clean air and save a little bit of the engine temperature and the oil temperature in that matter, as finally Robbie's going to move to that inside lane, and Acosta's going to have the opportunity to have a link shot to get himself one more lead lap.
And the more that they exchange lead laps here, the more likely it's Gagnon that will seal that honour. There's probably about 35 laps to go, so there is enough laps for anyone to overtake Gagnon, but they would have to start leading almost all of the ones remaining. Acosta and O'Brien will probably need to lead about 2/3 of the remaining laps to get that point away from Gagnon as things stand. And with the manoeuvrability of everybody here and how quickly things change, it's going to be very tricky indeed. You can see the side-to-side battle between Wilson and Acosta. It's the 5 that leads again, 16 minutes to go.
More importantly, he's leading the championship. Look how the dynamic points shift towards one's way just in a matter of few laps and track positions of sorts. So right now it's still Brian's job to try to get closer to the front pack of the field and put all the pressure on the number 5.
Hillman abandons Acosta and uses the speed to move through. O'Brien exchanges the position. He goes up high, helps Acosta lead another lap there by the looks of things. Through back to the lead. Acosta goes back to the championship lead. He goes. It's Acosta, Gagnon and O'Brien on the outside line, with behind them Thomas Sink and Mathieu Denis on this outside. Look at that push from Gagnon now. With 15 minutes to go, Acosta leads comfortably here. And as I say, if he wins here, this race, he'll be very unlucky indeed not to take the title away from this race. In fact, it would be pretty impossible in this current situation. James O'Brien would probably need the fastest lap, and indeed maybe some more points for leading the most laps as well, but that's looking unlikely. There goes Acosta back to second and no longer in championship winning position.
And the car and the lane with last year cars is doing a really good job keeping in touch with that top lane. Top lane is not being highly coordinated. You can see that O'Brien has to, you know, weave his car around to try to save a little bit of oil, temperature, and engine temp. And thus, by doing that, he's not being able to push the 646 of Gagnon around, and Thomas Sink is not being that guy that is staying closer with them and share a lot of jab. So that's why the bottom lane, even though last year numbers, is doing this better job of keeping themselves one abreast, and having like a guy like Alex Hillman leading this race so far.
Oh, they're getting restless on the outside line now. Abner Acosta really is getting some laps together now. He's probably got a run of 5 or so going. O'Brien and Acosta probably on the same amount of laps. They're probably about 20 behind Gagnon as things stand. And with the amount of laps remaining and the changeability, as I said earlier, it's going to be very tricky for anyone to overtake Gagnon in the most laps led stakes. Here goes Hillman on the inside line, for example. It's 5 on the inside, all stacked up. Just the 3 on the outside, but they're very well organised and they're very quick drivers as well. Acosta, Gagnon and O'Brien working together for the moment.
And you can see the tree not pushing way down much. He's not trying to push unnecessarily the number 11 into places that they can find themselves within a crashing situation. That's really good awareness out of the 3. And let's see if that's going to be the situation moving forward, as the 3 car lane up in the top is doing a fantastic job keeping themselves together, even though O'Brien cannot go around anywhere to try to get more positions, as Acosta's life point situation is going up and down like a roller coaster.
And by the way, look at the inside at the moment. Gagnon just having a look at the inside of Hillman, can't quite do it. In towards 1 and 2 they go. Look at the time remaining here. Just less than 13 minutes on the clock here. A caution would be getting dangerously close to ending this race. We're not quite at that stage yet, but bear that in mind late on here. There's no overtime in a timed race, and so caution could end the race. Acosta, meanwhile, gets almost driven into the side-off by Robbie Wilson through 3 and 4, and he loses that chance at the lead just for the moment.
Give or take, Ewan, 5 minutes left in the race.
Maybe a minute or so more, but not very many minutes left. If there's a caution, it's pretty close to ending the race now.
Yeah. But what we can say doesn't take away the fact that O'Brien trying to move into the bottom lane got a little bit closer to in between Thomas Sink and Robert Besaw. Is the fact that I think we had probably one of the clean, if not the cleanest season in a long time in the PRL Cup Series. I think we've broken the record, right? In the Cup Series for the biggest length in terms of green flag runs. So that's a good thing. As Steve, next season is going to follow the trend as well. We would really like to see that. Oh,
Acosta there tried to get ahead of O'Brien and he couldn't do it. The outside line's going backwards now, and he gets in front of Denis there on the low side. So the championship rivals are together. Yeah, indeed, the first time ever that the PRL Cup Series has had 4 clean and green races in one consecutive run. That was all the way back at the mid-end of the season. A record broken finally at Martinsville, when we finally got a few cautions, as you would expect to see. Here, meanwhile, goes Denis down the inside of Acosta, who's being left out to dry, and he's going backwards here. Alex Hillman, by the way, up to the front and the lead of this race with just over 20 laps to go here. We've got 10.5 minutes remaining, and Abner Acosta needs to now make something happen.
and Sing's not doing too much of a job. But what is helping Acosta not getting relegated way too back into the back is that side draft of his car right in, and the fact that O'Brien is giving a little bit of toe up in the. Let's say he was going to give it a little bit of toe up in the front, but it mainly is a side draft that is saving the number 5 so far in that chase for the number 33.
He's only got Thomas Sink behind him, which is really holding him back at the moment. And he is quite a few places behind James O'Brien. He can't win the championship finishing behind O'Brien. He has got to get ahead of him here in these final 10 minutes. They're all having a little look. Bissell is one of them, but that would only allow James O'Brien to go and help him and maybe advance his position. As here goes Gagnon to the outside. He saw Acosta coming, and now he goes with him. Here goes O'Brien as well. He blocks the run on the outside line. Oh! Up to the very wall there. James O'Brien now is going to get a big push, and Gagnon and Acosta are right back behind him again. This is deja vu from earlier, but a gap is growing here. The top 4 have a chance here to make a break for it, make a steal, but no, they're brought back pretty quickly. The fighting not fierce enough for 5th place just for the moment, as Bissell doesn't quite know whether to go with the top line just yet.
I think Bissell for that instance didn't want to go to the top lane. I think he just tried to break the toe a little bit to try to save a little bit of engine temp. I think right now that's the thing. Just for Bissell, stand that inside lane is just make sure the top lane work, and they're working really well into the entry of the corners. Just stop being able to keep up the speed mid corners to that front group that is not helping them in the long case. I think we would need a 4th driver maybe to get into the fray and help them out up in the top to get closer to that front of the pack. But so far, solid job from them. I don't think it's just being effective on a 3v6 battle so far.
It's not quite going their way, but they're getting somewhere now, and Stephen Kirby wants to join them. O'Brien will take his slipstream. He can't go past him. I think he wanted to make it free wide and go past him, but he's got no choice. He has to shove Kirby forwards now. Here goes Robbie Wilson, also to the high side. They all start going up there, and they start pushing as well. Tight on the outside. Here goes Acosta to the very low side. James O'Brien goes low as well, as the guys up high have hung out to dry again. Gagnon and Kirby go backwards here.
Oof.
Now O'Brien doesn't move because Acosta didn't effectively. We've got a 3-driver train on the outside again.
And that 3-driver lineup on the top lane, we saw them trying to work together, but they didn't work so well. Now it's going to become a high lane fiesta up in the top, as I think Hillman made a little bit of a mistake on the bottom lane.
And, well, whether it was a mistake or just an overpowering speed on the outside, I'm not sure. He's gone backwards. Acosta's followed him. He thought he could pick that out inside up again, but he couldn't quite. Oh, that's very wide. Oh, it's contact on Robbie Wilson sides. Oh, he saves it somehow. He saves it there, and Alex Hillman makes a save as well. O'Brien moves through on the outside. Just 6.5 minutes to go. Dangerously close to a caution ending, a race-ending caution right now. A caution ending the season. Let's hope we stay green here in these final 6.5 minutes.
And to make matters worse, Costa now hung out to dry on that top lane, even though we can even see O'Brien having pinches of going to the top lane, but he cannot go top. He's just going top to cool off the engine for a little bit, but somehow, some way, we're still green.
It's a wonderful save from Robbie Wilson there, who got really quite loose. Here comes Acosta on the outside. He has to finish ahead of James O'Brien, don't forget, here today. And there's no other way of doing it for him. It looks like all the bonus points are gone. So the gap remains 5 between the two of them. 5 points. A win for either of them would do enough. It would be enough. But will either of them get close enough here for a position? If it's not going to be a race win for either of them, Abner Acosta needs to be 5 positions ahead of James O'Brien. And right now in a 9-car group, that is looking tricky.
What's funny for me, you can even see that the 33 he wanted to move up in the top lane for a little bit. He considered about it, but Hillman kind of like already have committed and fully committed, because there was no way for him to stay on the bottom lane without getting spun around by the 33. And how that helped out Acosta quite a lot, because you can see now Acosta's doing the heavy load and right now.
Oh, goodness me! That was so close to trouble. Robert Bissell Jr. and Alex Hillman dooring each other, and here goes Robbie Wilson up the inside of Abner Acosta. James O'Brien slipped through on the inside line. It's slipping away from Acosta here with just less than 5 minutes to go, but look at him making the gains again now. Side by side for the lead between Robert Bissell Jr. and Alex Hillman as Gagnon gets into Stephen Kirby. Have they spun? Have they crashed? No, they save it again. Unbelievable.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, adds 3 wide into turn 3 again. This is for the championship. Acosta versus O'Brien. If either of them win the race, they've taken the title. And look at this, they're both in the second line, waiting for a moment to try and strike.
And I think the 5 pushed the number 11 all the way around. He's going to use the side draft to remain within that toe, and he's going to do the job all over again. Side draft and bump, side draft and bump. That's the way to go right now for you to win this race.
Robert Bissell Jr. looking to try and get 3rd in the point standings. He would manage that with a race win for himself now. He's 4th as things stand and should stay there, with Stephen Kirby and Pat Harvey out of the front group. We're down to 7 at the front here in Atlanta. 3.5 minutes to go. Should be 8 more laps of this PRL Cup Series season.
One more spot. I think Acosta needs one more spot.
He does. He needs this spot from Alex Hillman. But can't do it into 3 and 4. O'Brien still locked on the inside as well. I'm not sure whether he'd be pleased with this situation or not. It's so difficult to assess the situation while you're in it. Surely they're just both going to be gunning for the race win. And look at the outside run again here. Acosta getting help from Hillman and Robbie Wilson, who's on the outside with them as well.
And for Bissell, this is also important because a win over here also would seal him inside the top 3, which is insane. And look at the moves being done. Hillman tried to cover off Acosta, but the problem is, Derek, the hard charge is so great that it's just not having the situation. I think now prime position for Acosta to try to pounce with like 2.5 minutes to go.
The only way Acosta can win this title without winning the race is if James O'Brien finishes last of the group. So he surely must know it is win or bust for Abner Acosta. Although O'Brien's sort of been hung out to dry on the outside there, and he got to his inside, and James O'Brien will go backwards a little bit here. He is not anywhere near Abner Acosta, who surely is going to give it his all to try and win this race.
Bissell exploring options, trying to see if that outside run is going to be good for him, but so far it isn't.
It's O'Brien leading the outside charge, pushed by Wilson, who's been an avid pusher all day long, actually. But they're not getting anywhere, really. It's single file from the top 4. Where can Abner Acosta work this move here? 4 laps to go of the PRL Cup Series season of 2024.
And at a certain point, you can even look at Saint try to push on now. Bissell finally is going to use the top lane to try to get a run and have O'Brien following him suit.
This is a special ending to the season here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Just 4 to go, including the one we're on right now. If Abner Acosta or James O'Brien win the race, they also win the title. That is how close it is. You can see the live points in the top right. James O'Brien holding on by just 2 points, just 2 positions. It's 1 point per position as they go over the line. 3 laps to go.
Look for the bounce next lap.
James O'Brien is pushing Robert Bissell Jr., who may be his last hope to deny Acosta a win. O'Brien might be okay to win the championship without a race win here. Of course, he comes in with the advantage, but he has a bad run through 3 and 4, and Robbie Wilson gets to his inside. He can't afford to lose that place. Here goes Denis on Acosta as well with 2 laps to go, and there's the change. It's side by side for 6th. O'Brien cannot lose that 6th place. forget, a tie would result in an Abner Acosta championship. With 2 wins already to his name, James O'Brien would be looking to win a title for the second time without winning a race. But right now he's at the back of the group. That's the only position in which he can lose it from here. Now he's got back again, up to 6th. The white flag waves at Atlanta. 1 more lap to go.
If you're Acosta, where do you pounce?
Oh, there's contact! Another huge save! Mathieu Denis holds on! Unbelievable! Unbelievable save! Now it's up to Abner Acosta! James O'Brien's momentum is nowhere! Acosta's got to do something here! He knows he has to win for the championship! Into 3 and 4! Alex Hillman's held on for a long time here, but has Abner Acosta got enough? James O'Brien's coming up on the outside line, it's not going to be enough! Alex Hillman wins at Atlanta Motor Speedway ahead of Abner Acosta, and James O'Brien wins the championship by just 4 points on the line.
That is insane, man.
So close. I mean, Acosta just could not work her way through anywhere.
You know, I don't think he actually had a way to work around on the outside, because of the incident that happened right behind, I think, with Kirby and everybody else. You know, I think had we had not the incident, I think our second group probably would have formed, and he would have tried to pounce on that outside. Of course, didn't get a really good run. This is all on Hillman. Hillman did a really good job to, you know, try to put a little bit of a gap to Acosta, and because of the broken group right there, is just allowed the 11 to, you know, I'm not going to be under threat because Acosta's not going to have a run on me, and he's not going to be able to have a side-by-side moment with me. So what a drive in O'Brien, again, winning another championship without winning a race.
Have a look at this, by the way. This is the last lap for James O'Brien. He was so close, by the way, to being caught up with Mathieu Denis, who's in the purple here on our left-hand side. He gets tapped round, and O'Brien narrowly scrapes through. How on earth he avoided that, I don't really know. Then he got onto the back of Robbie Wilson. Of course, even at this stage, he's okay. He knows he's close enough to Acosta. It's all down to the 5 and whether he can try and win here. He looked to the outside, couldn't do it there. Wilson swung wide, and Acosta tried to get the run off the corner, couldn't quite do it. In fact, O'Brien was coming quickest. He got the 3rd place he required, and he holds on to win the championship by 4 points. Let's not take anything away from Alex Hillman, though, who hasn't had a top 10 all season, but he's suddenly won here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Abner Acosta couldn't quite get the championship. He was less than a 10th away from doing so, though, with James O'Brien sealing it from 3rd. It's Robbie Wilson and Ron Bisor Jr. who round out the top 5, with Mathieu Denis and Thomas Sink somehow surviving that last lap to finish 6th and 7th. Jean-Michel Gagnon and Stephen Kirby pulled off their own miracles at the very end to finish 8th and 9th. Jose Medina dropped off the lead lap after a slowish stop. Kalen and Harvey had penalties. That's why they finished laps down. Well, what an end to the PRL Cup Series season. And what a start to finals week here in the Precision Racing League as well. Before we get to the champion, let's chat to Alex Hillman, who is a PRL Cup Series race winner here at Atlanta. Welcome in, Alex. Good to have you with us, and congratulations on the win. Tell us about those last few laps.
Oh, that was... This watching the mirror, I have to give a huge shout out to Abner Acosta for pushing me and blocking me and not going on the outside where those guys had that run. But that was nice to finally get a win in the PRL.
Yeah, exactly. Your first win in the PRL anywhere. I mean, how did you expect this race to go for yourself here at Atlanta? I always find I'm still not quite used to it. It's an unusual plate circuit. How did you expect it to go?
Not this well. I was expecting at least a top 5 with how many cars we had on track, but got in the wall a little bit at the beginning, which made me nervous about the rest of the race, but got to the front near the end and was able to stay in front of everybody, and that was basically the way it went.
Well, congratulations on holding on for your first PRL win. It was very exciting indeed. Thanks for coming to chat to us as well. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Alex Hillman there, the race winner, just ahead of Abner Acosta and James O'Brien, who can now join us as well. PRL Cup Series champion for Season 4 of 2024, James, without winning a single race. Someone just said in YouTube chat, you should win less often because it seems to work well for you. I'm not sure that was the plan at the start of the season, but how are you feeling after securing another top 3, by the way, but more importantly, the title by just 4 points?
Stress relieved. Without Gabriel there, it was a little bit easier, but Abner and I were talking the whole race, and by like 20 laps to go, we were like, all right, gloves off. We're not teammates anymore. I'm not helping you. You're not helping me, kind of thing. But we still kind of were, but at the same rate, we didn't want to wreck to end it. You know, we wanted to have like a clean finish and be an honest victory. So at the end, it kind of got a little hairy. I hit the wall. There was like a half spin, and I just kept my foot in it the whole time because there's like no choice. But yeah, number 6, I think. I wish it was a bigger field this season, but it still had to work for it. Gabriel was really fast. Abner's always the class of the field. So I'm glad to put another one in my belt.
Yeah, absolutely. And not even the first time you've done it without winning a race as well. Just tell us what the feeling is like when you were sat there in third place, just after you'd got past Mathieu Denis, who was the one who very nearly spun in front of everybody at the end, and it was a minor miracle that he didn't really. But after that, you were right behind Abner Acosta and Robbie Wilson, who pulled out the way, and then you're behind Acosta. You can't really do anything to stop him winning the race, but you're sort of watching him try to. How was that in the last couple of corners of this race?
I'm coming down the backstretch and I can't see him because Robbie's in front, so I'm hoping that he's not pulling out to make a run, because I would have just tried to fill the gap up and pushed Alex. And then coming out of turn 4, I was hoping he wouldn't make a run, so my goal was just to get to his quarter panel to kind of stifle any run he was going to gain, even though it would have probably been too little too late. But I feel like if he made that run early on the backstretch on the last lap, he could have probably won the race, and he even said that to me just now. But because I think Robbie would have gone with him, and then it would have probably just been me pushing Alex to prevent a win versus me trying to win.
And indeed, you have indeed won again your 4th Cup Series title, if you like, in this form of the form of the event, and first for a little while. So congratulations on that, James, and thanks for coming to chat to us all throughout the season as well.
Thanks. Hopefully, we have a good field next season, and we can do this all again. Sign-ups just open for us drivers, but I'm sure for the public who wants to do this, they'll be opening in a couple weeks, I think. So come join us. Come take the belt away, as I say. And maybe I'll win another one without winning any races again.
Absolutely. And, of course, don't forget to turn up an hour earlier next season because of the...
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So remember that. James, congratulations again. Thanks for chatting to us.
Thank you.
Cheers. James O'Brien there, the champion of the PRL Cup Series for Season 4 of 2024. As he says, if you're a returning driver and you're already racing the PRL, you can re-sign up for leagues, by the way. We'll get into the details more of that in a few minutes' time, though, after we've chatted to Abner Acosta, who finishes not only second in this race tonight, but also in the championship as well. Welcome in, Abner, and commiserations, I guess, on second place tonight. Just tell us about that last lap or the last laps, multiple, and your attempts to get past Alex Hillman there.
I don't know. I was expecting, I don't know, to get a push or something, but I guess, I think on the last 2 laps, people in turn 1 almost wrecked. So, like, it kind of like, I wasn't getting a run on him, and maybe I should have moved on the outside way earlier, but for some reason I had it in my mind that I wanted to make a move on the backstretch, but it just never happened. When everybody started like falling off, I was on like a bubble. I couldn't get a run to him. So even if I moved to the outside, I don't think I would have had anything without any help. But yeah, congrats to Alex. I know he was trying to push me the whole race, and I was trying to work with him too a little bit. So glad he got the win.
And yourself, you're just 4 points away from another PRL championship, which I guess must be slightly disappointing to you. But it's still been a good season with a couple of wins for yourself in there, plenty of solid finishes as well. How do you look back and reflect on this season as a whole?
I mean, I thought it was good. I think a big key was I missed the road course, which is my strongest race due to the hurricane and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, that was a lot of points that I lost. And then I had a couple of bad races and computer issues. But, I mean, overall, it was good. Like I said last week, the goal here was for me or James to get a win. And that happened. So, you know, we'll do better next season.
The search for the 10th title will go on, but congratulations on second place this season, Abner, and tonight as well, and thanks for coming to chat to us throughout the season too.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good day.
Thanks very much, Abner Acosta there, the second place driver from tonight and indeed this season as well. Well, that's it for another PRL Cup Series season here, Lorenzo. A fantastic ending, I've got to say. A surprise winner with a driver who hasn't had a top 10 all season long and a close championship fight going right the way down to the line as well. Abner Acosta missing out by less than a tenth of a second. That's the kind of fine margins we're talking about in the PRL Cup Series.
Yeah, I think for better or worse, I think having this play racing into Atlanta, the current format right now with these current cars, I think fit them well nice together. I think the revamping of the track, I think fit perfectly the cars for the technology and everything they bring nowadays into NASCAR. Hillman kind of like had a few moments earlier in the season where he could have gotten the top 5, maybe top 3, but never got it the real big luck. Off the draw like he had over here, and deservedly so. He got a victory over here. But O'Brien proving once again that consistency sometimes is more key than wins, you know, and deservedly so, getting another championship on his belt. And I like that he had a little bit of a smugness to, you know, say, come and take that away from me, you know, which is good to know, you know, bring up the fight to other people next season.
Absolutely. This race tonight was his tied worst of the season. That's the kind of season we're talking about for this man right here. This was his crowning moment for James O'Brien, coming over the line to win the PRL Cup Series for Season 4 of 2024 in third place. As he referenced in his interview, sign-ups are now up for returning drivers in the PRL. Of course, changes made to this series means that qualifying will now start at 8 p.m. EST next season. So make sure you join us an hour earlier. And indeed, if you're racing, join in the session an hour earlier than what we have seen previously. It will all begin on January 5th for more 60-minute races here in the PRL Cup Series, so I very much hope that you will join us then. It's James O'Brien's season, though. Here's the PRL Cup Series season. Will continue finals week next time out with the LMP3 and GT4 Challenge from 9 p.m. EST tomorrow. Very much hope you can join us then. I've been Ian O'Leary alongside Lorenzo Bondo and Hugo Luis. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.